Három,
deux,
jeden.
einmal.
Balkans Calling. Voices from the region.
So today I'm talking to Silvana Farruku, who is a predoc fellow at the seeFField project and is spending some time here in Regensburg. I'm Katalin Kosa, student assistant at the seeFField project. So welcome, Silvana. Thanks for coming, and we're gonna have a talk about you and your life and your research. But first of all, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Katalin. I'm very happy to be part of this podcast, and thank you once again for inviting me today. And I am Silvana Farruku, as you already said. I am actually I would start from where I come from. I am born in a city in Albania which is called Durrës. There I studied elementary and high school. And then I moved to Tirana for my university studies. I selected language and literature as it was my first choice for my bachelor studies. And I got a place at University of Tirana where I was very happy. And actually I had worked for that, so I was already prepared. And then after I graduated for my bachelor studies, I selected to study Master of Science in Contemporary Linguistics. Intentionally, I wanted to dive a bit deeper into linguistics because that's for what I was more passionate about and enthusiastic, and I was curious to know more and more. And after I finished my master studies, I was looking for a PhD. And then I found the predoctoral fellowship in Regensburg, and I applied, and currently I am a predoctoral student, and soon I will be a PhD candidate at University of Regensburg.
All right, thank you. You've already mentioned that you're going to be a PhD candidate, and as far as I know, the topic of your research project is the identity contradiction of being Albanian and Muslim, a multi-layered discourse analysis of anti-Muslim discourse in Albania and Kosovo. This sounds like a really interesting topic. Do you know, is there like a lot of research on it already?
Well, if it was a lot of research already, I would not really deal with the topic. But because I have found somehow a space when I have to explore and to look deeper, to understand the phenomenon. There is not really an strong, ambitious attempt to focus on discourse analysis and on anti-Muslim discourse, especially on the linguistic approach. But there is definitely a solid base of studies on the historical and political, social anthropological area, which all of those are very insightful for my research.
And how did you gain interest in that topic? Like, were there any societal or political events or processes that sparked your interest?
Well, I would not really say that it was something specifically, a political or social event or a book or an article. I didn't mention in the beginning, but I had also 2 Erasmus semesters at Humboldt University of Berlin, and I intentionally left it to share later on. And at this point, I think it's useful. Through that experience, I had the chance to see the reality through different lenses. I was presented with different perspectives and different approaches, academic approaches. I got to know the German educational system, and I attended courses. I would specify here especially courses from Professor Christian Voss. I was attending his courses not because I wanted the grades, but because I was interested on what have been he was talking, and I was always enthusiastic and couldn't wait for the next meeting. And so there I got this idea that I could deal with social issues. And then beyond my studies, I am an active citizen in my community, but also beyond it in the Western Balkan and promoting EU values in my country. And so I kind of brought together my experience and the strong academic background in linguistics, me as an active citizen in the society, and bringing these two together, I could, and I have always been looking to everything what have been going on in the country and beyond in the global area, and trying to define which are the major issues that the different communities are dealing with. Yeah, but what I would like to, in addition, I also have been in contact with people from Muslim community, friends or people around, and I was used to hear a lot what have been said and looking at the media and on the political area. So having all this background and knowledge, it was not very difficult to find this topic and to say that I want to dive into this topic and to understand this phenomenon. But I used always during my bachelor and master studies to write down topics when the professor used to say, there is a gap of knowledge in this area, or there is a lack of knowledge in this area. I never looked back at this topic. I luckily, being very curious and kind of an observer of the reality, find out the topic myself, and that's probably is the reason why I'm very enthusiastic when I am working on it, and I really love what I do.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really into the topic, and also it's super interesting that like all these different spheres of your life like come together in this topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you already said why you were like particularly interested in this topic. What would you say is your motivation, or also maybe what is your goal with this research?
This is a very good question, actually. First of all, I am very enthusiastic when I do research on this topic. Here I also want to mention that when somebody wants to do a PhD, it should be open also to other areas of life. For instance, I never really was into history, but when I found the topic, I realized that I was missing something, and I go to history knowledge, and I read and did research on that, and every time when I found something new and I had a wider and a better understanding on the topic, I could be more I was more into the topic, and I was enthusiastic for every insight that I got from other disciplines. And coming back to my discipline, linguistic, which I think that is the main area, it's my main area of interest, but I think that is also the results that my research can bring can be useful not only in the academic area, not only in linguistic, of course it's very relevant, but also beyond the academic, to the practitioners, to policymakers. I will try to organize workshops in Albania and Kosovo after I will have my results of my research, and definitely also will bring the Albanian studies to a more open academic sphere. Albanian studies have been for years isolated, and me bringing my background to a more open academic area and getting the experience and knowledge here, it's a mix of two things that will bring to the topic insightful results from my research. Well, the goal is to have a very good understanding of anti-Muslim discourse and how language shape this discourse and the reality for this community, and hopefully to motivate future studies on the comparative sphere, because there are currently studies on anti-Muslim discourse in the Western societies, in Europe and in US, and comparing these two could bring to us a more comprehensive understanding of anti-Muslim discourse as a phenomenon and the role that language plays in shaping this discourse.
All right. You already mentioned now maybe the difference, or that there's a lot of research on anti-Muslim discourse maybe in the West, but not so much in other countries. If we dive a bit deeper into the topic, how does this anti-Muslim discourse work in Albania and Kosovo? Because both countries have quite a high percentage of a Muslim population, right? So what role do the country's history play there maybe also?
Yeah. When I start talking for anti-Muslim discourse in Albania and Kosovo, I always used to ask, does this make sense? Because I'm dealing with two Muslim majority countries. But if we look at the history and the political developments and the ideology that have been going on in these two countries, it's clearly understandable what I'm talking about. But also because I have clear statements from scholars of history and anthropology that pretty early have defined that this community is downplayed from different factors, but especially from national identity and from Europeanness, this European identity. Because for many years and still the presence of a Muslim majority country is considered as an obstacle for the full realization of the European identity of Albanians and to the integration to the European Union. Also in different historical periods, like in interwar period, we had attempts to ban the religion from the public setting. During communist times in Albania, there have been a ban of religion, so there was the religion was banned. And in Kosovo, well, it have been a more a different approach to the religion, especially during the Yugoslav period. In the former Yugoslavia, Kosovo had the freedom of religion, but still religion was kept completely off of the political project. And somehow the two countries go in the same direction in these developments, because the two countries have strongly committed to European identity and to the European integration. Integration of these two countries to the European Union is the main pillar of and the main discussion is the main component of the discourse. And nowadays it's a different situation, but still this community face continuously anti-Muslim discourse, but also I would say hate speech, because one of the points in my research project is studying hate speech and trying to understand if they're to classify the language that is used towards Muslims due to different factors, but especially, as I said, and I would emphasize national identity and mentioning here the quote, the religion of Albanians is Albanism, which is the most used, I would say, quote of all times. And this is a very strong verse from Pashkovasa, which is dictated and I would say embedded in the Albanians' minds for years now. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And we've already talked about the fact that there's like a lack of research in this field. Which data are you using for your research then?
The data are constituted from two corpuses. One corpus is the National Albanian Corpus, which is free, accessible online. And it will be another corpus, which will be a specialized corpus, that's how it's called, which will be constituted from several subcorpuses. I will focus on intellectual discourse, on political discourse, on media discourse. Media discourse, it means website articles, social media comments, and also on probably 2 or 3 TV programs. So there will be books for my specialized corpus. There will be TV program, as I mentioned. There will be comments from Facebook and YouTube channel. And there will be also some spoken data, but not many, because it's not possible to manage those data. And yeah, so it will be a combination and a comparison between the two corpuses and a study of multi-layers of discourse in these two corpuses.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say? How are you evaluating the role of language regarding this topic?
Well, language is my main focus, and also on discourse analysis, I'm going to work with the linguistic approach. because I really think that language can tell us a lot, maybe not everything, but a lot about the reality and what is the community facing currently. Also, even that I'm dealing with this anti-Muslim discourse, which discourse is the highest layer, I'm starting from the basic layer, which includes linguistic means and linguistic features, and then going step by step to the text and to the discourse. I, as an active citizen, going back to this, I have been part of roundtables and discussions where I have been the only linguist. And I have been asked what I'm doing there because I'm a linguist, and linguist doesn't really, in this concept, is really only based on grammar and studying only language. But to me, it has been very relevant to give my my perception and my dimension of how I see, as an expert in linguistics, a social issue. So how people around use the language and how this reality is built through this language that is used. So to me, I think that, and also luckily in these two countries there haven't been actions towards Muslims. So we have physical violence, for instance, or others, but I believe that as long as there are the Muslim community has the rights that it has nowadays, and the discourse that is ongoing shouldn't be neglected, better to say, because if we neglect it today, tomorrow it can be transformed to something that may have consequences. And so by studying the language and studying how in this through years, because I'm focusing from 2006 to 2023 with my data, through years this discourse have been ongoing, we can understand how this community is shaped through language and how language is used to put this community in a disadvantaged position.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a really good point. And since you're a pre-doc fellow here at the seeFField project, what have your experiences been like so far in Regensburg?
Yeah, well, when I first applied for this position, I didn't know much about Regensburg, but I did a lot of research. And after I did a lot of research, I didn't question at all applying or not. And after I applied and I arrived here, I found I would say, first of all, very friendly environment, very supportive environment. I am just entering academia. I'm just a very young scholar who is aspiring to enter academia. And when you feel that you have open doors that are ready to answer your question, are ready to help you to shape your understanding and your ideas, and when you have the right guidance, which all of those found here, I had the chance to be supervised by one of the members of the seeFField, from Professor Björn Hansen, which have been all of those have given me insightful, I had insightful conversation, I had insightful discussions. I have been also invited to give a presentation on my topic on a seminar, history seminar actually. I have presented at graduate school my project proposal. I have presented at a research seminar at the University of Regensburg. So I had a lot of activities which have shaped my project proposal, but also I am more clear of what I'm going to do during these years of my doctoral studies. But it has been the best experience that have turned to be better than I expected.
Okay, that sounds good. But also like a really full schedule. But
yeah.
I think that's normal.
Yeah, but it has been great.
Mm. And what would you say, do you have any other interests besides your current topic, or do you have any further plans for upcoming projects or something like that?
Well, currently I just have finished my project proposal and I am applying for external scholarships. I never stopped and I will never stop to be an active citizen in the society in my country, but also beyond that I have wider scope, and I enjoy to have people from different backgrounds, which gives me insight all the time. And everybody wants to have a better society, and working to date means that we will have a better tomorrow. I will become a PhD student, and then let's see what the future will bring. Let's not discover all the plans right now.
That's true. So with all your plans, I wish you the best of luck, and thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.